Pryde's Picks is spoiler heavy and full of crude language. I swear like a sailor, and Lockheed's no better. Consider yourself warned. Hey everyone, it's January 15th and I'm here with this week's Pryde's Picks. This week Marvel and DC really weren't impressing me, so we'll be mostly focusing on Image Comics and a book from Dark Horse as well as Vertigo. Let's get started. First up is Uncanny XMen issue 16. This book has you closing it and thinking, what a fucking asshole I am. I'm so insensitive, because this reminds us that Magneto has feelings too. Now, when Xavier died at the hands of Scott Summers, you kind of forgot that it would affect Magneto. You kind of forgot that it was Magneto's best friend slash confidant slash nemesis slash, life partner. And everyone focused on Scott and all the aftermath. And he's kind of slipped under the radar. And we find out through Dazzler sending him to Madripoor to check out this mutant island thing that's going on here. What exactly is going on inside his head. And Magneto takes it to a dark, wicked place. I will say, buy it now. I really enjoyed seeing Magneto go evil on evil and kind of lose his shit. Check it out. Next up is The Amazing X-Men issue 3, The Beast Unleashed. Now, in The Amazing X-Men so far, we found out that the little blue Bamps in the Jean Grey School for gifted youngsters have been building something, and that's why coffee pots go missing and all this other crap goes missing. And what they've been building is a teleportation thing to heaven. They went up there to get Nightcrawler. While that's going on, you find out Azazel and his little red Bamps have been terrorizing heaven, and the X-Men decide to go find out what's going on, and they run into an old friend who is technically still dead, although he's corporeal. So I don't know what's going on with that. But Beast ends up isolated on Azazel's pirate ship, and he is kicking ass. So that part was cool, seeing Beast lose his fucking shit. But, so far, Pirates and X-Men just don't do it for me. But Nightcrawler is one of my favorite X-Men, so any little bit of Nightcrawler action I can get, I have to say I enjoy. I'm going to say read it on the shelf and buy Uncanny X-Men. Next up is Superior Spider-Man, issue 25, Darkest Hours. Now, the last issue of Superior Spider-Man had Doc Ock Spidey taking the Venom symbiote from Flash Thompson and absorbing it onto himself, and he kind of loses his mind. He starts doing good by doing a lot of bad, and he thinks he's the ultimate superior, super awesome Venom Spider-Man ever, and he does use superior quite a few times. Big surprise. The Avengers have been slowly catching on that he's not who he says he is. Carly got abducted by the Goblin, while the Hobgoblin is trying to figure out who's been stealing his money, and so all the villains are all at each other's throats right now, and it's exciting. And everybody converges on Venom Spider-Man and pulls the venom off of him. And it goes back into Flash Thompson. But somewhere along the way, I got swept up in the excitement of Superior Spider-Man again. It could be for the fact that we all know that Peter Parker will be back in April. And you see a little hint of that in this book when the little Patrick Swayze Peter shows up. But, I'm going to have to say buy it now. And buy last week's issue, because they were really good back to back. I still think it should end, though. I feel like Superior Spider-Man was the Freaky Friday movie they decided to make into a TV series, and that shit it just won't last. It's not gonna last. Buy it now. Let's move on to DC Comics with Superman Wonder Woman issue 4. Now, a blogger was recently sent a message, and in the message, there was video of Supes and Wonder Woman making out. She posted online, it goes viral, the whole world knows that they are now doing it. And they're both really having this celebrity syndrome where they're like, my personal life should be personal. Suck it up, you're fucking Wonder Woman and Superman. But Superman decides to dip out to the fortress to talk to Zod. When he does, Zod's like, I'm gonna need to borrow some equipment. Next thing you know, he's busting Feora out of the Phantom Zone. And you see Wonder Woman having problems in real life, trying to deal with everything, and realizes she might need to go take a trip back home because she just can't handle the drama. So, story-wise, it doesn't move along too much. A little chaos happens. I'm going to say, steal it from a friend. Next, we're going to move into Image Comics with a book called Egos. EGO stands for Earth Galactic Operatives, and basically this gentleman, Deuce, was part of an original team of heroes that protected the planet, fought crime, all this good stuff. They got old, and as they got old, they became less useful, and they slowly petered out of existence. Well, crime is back, and the world has decided they need more heroes. So Deuce and his wife are putting together this team of youngsters to help save the world. In the end, you find out Deuce has some issues. He's using like this little holograph thing to make himself look younger than he really is. So he's having problems dealing with the reality that he's an old-ass superhero. And right at the end of the book, when the young operatives go to bed, they click something, and it turns out they're all clones of this original jerk-off Deuce. The story is kind of told by a third party, which turns out to be his son. The art is awful. The coloring is quite bright and enjoyable, but the lines themselves are kind of Chris Burnham-y, sketchy, crappy, zigzaggy. I don't know. I couldn't get into it. But the book itself has a good idea behind it, and that twist at the end made me want to pick up issue 2. So I would say read it on the shelf and buy something good. Next up, Alex and Ada, issue 3. Now this book is, we've talked about it before, a mix of Chobits and I don't even know. This guy gets his own personal robot doll friend by his grandma. He tries to return her, feels really guilty about it, so he keeps her. The best part about this issue was the fact that his friend shows up and finds out that he's got his own personal doll girlfriend robot, and she's like, ooh, we're gonna need to bring everybody in on this. So it cuts to the next panel, and all his friends are sitting on the couch asking her awkward questions. You can see him squirming, and for me, that sold the book because it seemed very genuine, the altercation between his friends and him, and you felt really uncomfortable for the dude. I mean, he didn't want this thing in the first place, and now he feels like a pervert, and his friends are making him feel like a pervert, and I really enjoyed it. So I would say, buy it now. I like Alex and Ada. Next up is Rat Queens, issue 4. Now, this is by one of the guys that brings you Peter Panzerfaust, and you know I'm a huge fan of that book. I enjoy the story, and in this, I also enjoy the story, but what I enjoy more are the 4 foul-mouthed, inappropriate little girls. And I have to say, my favorite part of this book is the writing, the interaction between the characters. I laugh out loud every issue, no matter what, at least 3 or 4 times. And this one didn't disappoint. There was a lot more action than last issue. You find out who's been sending the hit on the Rat Queens. Then these giant trolls show up, and they're pissed off that the Rat Queens killed one of their little troll boyfriends, so they're about to attack the city. And the Rat Queens are getting fucked up in the process. In the end, the 4 Daves come to their rescue, and there's this guy named Gary that seems to be a pain in the ass and always saying the wrong thing, and he's the one that started all this by telling the trolls that the Rat Queens killed their boyfriend. You're gonna have to buy it now. I don't know what to tell you. The Rat Queens, buy it now. The first 4 issues, you will enjoy it. I promise you. Little girls kicking ass and swearing a lot. Moving out of Image Comics, we're gonna jump into Vertigo with Coffin Hill issue 4. Now this book is about this young girl who comes from this affluent family in this little small town. And her family's almost kind of cursed. Everybody kind of fears / reveres them, and you don't know why. She decides to go out into the woods one night with her girlfriends and do some sort of witchcraft magic. And bad shit happens, and she wakes up and all her friends are dead around her. One of them's like all screwed up in her head, and she ends up in a coma. And you just don't know what happened that night. This is in the future. That one girl is in an insane asylum, and Eve, the young girl from the affluent family, has come home for some reason. And everybody's like, you shouldn't be back here. So when Eve came back, apparently her friend woke up from her comatose state at the insane asylum and asked to see Eve. Eve picks her up. It gets awkward, and you find out that there is more to this girl than meets the eye. She starts getting this black shit on her face. She starts digging into her boyfriend of the time, the sheriff guy, that is now kind of hooking up with Eve. And it gets incredibly awkward and weird. Towards the end, it almost reminded me of a revival, and I definitely enjoyed the twist in that, so I'm going to say wait for the trade and read it all together because it's dark, it's twisted, it's different, and if you like revival, I think you'll like Coffin Hill. Last up is SkyMan issue 1 from Dark Horse Comics. Now I try to pick up issue 1s of just about anything I can find, and I give everything a chance, and this book, the art style was very much similar to some stuff I've seen in Marvel lately, so I enjoyed the way it looked. Think of an affirmative action superhero, and that's what you're going to get here with SkyMan. Basically, the government made these little, they were supposed to be soldiers, these SkyMan soldiers. And this one guy went a little off the chain, started killing people, and he's super freaking racist. He's cursing out the fact that the president is black. He's using the N-word on TV. And so when they go to make another SkyMan, they think maybe we need somebody of color. No lie, this is what they say. They bring it up multiple times. So this book screams affirmative action. So they end up using this soldier that crashed in a plane crash a while ago and his vertebrae got screwed up and he can't walk because they decide to give him the legs he needs. And while wearing the suit, he can totally walk and do everything he needs to do and even fly. Hence the SkyMan. He has a handler, and the handler was one of the gentlemen originally trained to be a SkyMan, and the guy is very vindictive and very mad that he's teamed up with this guy, and this guy basically got his job. So, as they're testing out the equipment, his handler is fucking with him on his iPad. He kills the power, the guy almost dies. He's just not a good person. Go figure. SkyMan right at the end makes his debut in front of the President of the United States and all the world, and that's where it ended. There was very little story to the character, and I really couldn't get behind the book because I felt zero connection. If you want an affirmative action comic book, this is it. If you want something with substance, go to Rat Queens. That's all for this week. Recently, the internet has been all abuzz over some movie rumors, and one of which is Johnny Depp as Doctor Strange. I have to say, I am a little excited at the idea of it happening. At first, I thought I don't want Johnny Depp in any of my Marvel movies, but when they posted a certain picture of him looking very dapper with his little beard on the computer, I was like, oh yeah, I could totally see that. I think he'd be a pretty quirky, awesome Doctor Strange. Also, Marvel recently announced that Paul Rudd is not Hank Pym. Hank Pym is going to be played by Michael Douglas. That I'm not so excited about. I'm pretty bummed, and I don't know, he's so old, so I guess we're gonna have to see where it goes. Marvel usually knows what they're doing with their movies, so I will give them the benefit of the doubt. And with that, I say tune in Tuesday around 8 o'clock at twitchtv.com/noteffingcute to check out my video game stream. I will be playing Marvel Heroes, downloaded on Steam for freezies, and join me in the chat and on the stream. And good night, everybody. Mwah.